evening, good evening, good evening. Who gets you a lovely DoorDash gift card for Christmas, but then rats you out as soon as you get to McDonald's? It's us, the Thursday Night Podcast. ASTV Tinnipa if you're one of the cool kids. And it's also, you get treated on this show, the three handsomest baldies on the planet, and certainly more handsome than the man who's clearly crapping himself at 115 charges at Manchester City. It's Brian and Cosy and Macka. Brian, how are you?
Doing good.
Cosy, how are you?
Living the dream.
We're all living the dream, especially Brian, for all the British and Irish people who may be watching, doing his best Uncle Albert impression there tonight from Only Fools and Horses. Yeah. We're getting with the cutting edge references here tonight.
One for the kids. One for the kids.
And one for the kids, yep, as Michael Jackson used to say. So, and Judy Savile. That's another one as well. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight before Cosy pukes up his lunch. It's the Girona game, or Genoa, as I've been calling it all week in work. To the person that supports Barcelona and the other one who supports Manchester United. We'll talk about the game and probably for a little bit Darwin Núñez's pathetic attempt at a header 2 yards out from goal. That needs to be talked about. But all in all, yet again, another slot special. A bit of craziness and another clean sheet on top of the pile, as they say. We'll talk about managers who do not change their game plan regardless. And I hate to have to say this, boys, but this entire thing was prompted by Eric Wijnaldum actually making a good point for once on Sirius XMFC or whatever it's called. So I thought I'd pop it up there and see what we can talk about. And then we'll talk about the game on the weekend against Fulham. We got the Fulham perspective in the EPL panel show the other night, so we get a chance to talk about the Liverpool perspective. But the game yesterday or Tuesday, whichever day it was, I never remember which day it is these days. But we had a nice little penalty from that lad there. It wasn't a great game for your nerves, I don't think, if you put any emotional investment into it, Brian and Cosy. But if you're a good few points ahead in this experimental stage, first super hyper mega global league Champions League thing, having a bit of a buffer zone and knowing that you're probably guaranteed to get into the next round, if not the non-knockout stage, playoff stage rather. The Girona game wasn't really that. It shouldn't really have put your back up, but we saw things like Núñez. We saw, the sort of casualness almost to the team, and we saw for the first time, I believe, Arne Slot actually having a go at the players after the game in terms of the quality, which at least tells us he has high standards. But Brian, what was your take on that game?
I mean, it was. I expected a little bit more. I expected a lot more heavy rotation than what we saw, but I knew he wasn't really going to rotate that much. Saw the typical things that we normally see right there. Darwin Núñez missing easy chances, that kind of stuff like that. Went through there, but I think it was if you look through the first half like that, it was pretty 50-50 for the most part. I mean, through there, I really think even the penalty right there. I mean. It was a soft penalty in my opinion. I can see where you could call it, but I could also see where you could actually go the other way and not call it a penalty. I mean, it was right on the back of the heel, so I mean, questionable right there. But either way, right there's 3 points right there. We need 1 point right there to get through. That's all I care about now, And we have the last two matches between Lille and PSV. We shouldn't have an issue going there getting 1 point out of those matches.
Because the overall tone of the game seemed to be players who knew they don't need to do much over the last 3 games of the Champions League to get into the next round. I don't think there's any danger of us being dropped into those knockout places. It would be an exceptionally bad reversal of fortune if that happened. So is it possible they were just like, we're there. There might be some seeding. There might not be some seeding. Either way, we're going to not have to worry about playing in January or is it February, two extra games. Let's just do what we have to do on a basic level.
It's a good question, this Mick, because I actually think the game was a bit interesting. It looked like our best team that we could start, but you forget that our best team that we could start haven't played with each other this season. Like, if at all, a little bit. If you actually look at the team, Gomez and Van Dijk have probably played how many games centre half with each other in the last 12 months? Less than 10, I would say. Trent's coming back from an injury. That's his first, probably longest run, I think, since 6-8 weeks, at least. Alisson, another one. And then all the other lads, of course, the midfielders and strikers, I'm not giving them a pass as such, but you do forget they've had 6 days off, which they should feel kind of refreshed. And I understand their arguments as well of kind of going out there. But I also think there's a part where you've just got to give the opponent respect, and they play well. Because I thought they played well first 20. And I think us as fans, and I think because we have that biased nature and we all, which is completely fine with Liverpool fans, and we're entitled to have a biased nature. But I just think sometimes you just got to put your hands up and go, they play well. That Aspila kid looked like his dad. I don't even know if it is his dad, but he was unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? And so there was a couple of players there where you look and go, fucking hell, they're tardy. They're really good. You know what I mean? Like, there's also a part of this, if you're Girona, that's the biggest game in your history. Apart from Real Madrid and Barcelona, that's their first European outlet. You're playing Liverpool. Like, let's not make a mistake here, gentlemen, right? That is a fucking massive, massive deal for those players and those fans to play Liverpool at home. And also, Girona's probably really last chance to really get in the top 24. If they beat Girona, they're on 6 points. They've got 2 points to go with 2 games to go. You fancy yourself. You go, you know what? Well, you know what I mean? So there's also a lot on the line for them and less on the line for Liverpool. There's also a part of Liverpool where you go, if you kind of play within yourself, still get the results and not get any more injuries, that'll be tremendous, Liverpool. And that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? So I just don't get the I felt no worries at all. I thought Liverpool were going to win the game. I actually thought that Girona scored with Basel. I thought we were just going to away from you, really wake us up and really kick us on, kind of thing. So I'm pleased, man. I really am pleased, and I think it's kind of going under the radar, mate. Any away game's difficult. I think we said about the Premier League. Any away game in the Premier League's kind of difficult. It's the same in Europe, you know. Like, you know what I mean? It's not easy to go to these sides and just whack them. Like, they've got respect, you know. They've got good players you can hit, yeah. And I just think we need to respect the opposition now and then. But I think we all would have took it at the start. Liverpool win the game, clean sheet, win the game, and no injuries. I think we all would have snapped your hand off at the start, wouldn't we? And that's exactly what we got.
Brian, Girona made some ripples in Spain last year. Obviously, that's why they're here this year. So because he is right, they're a good side. They're worthy of respect. Is that one of those things where maybe the players, I think there's something to be said for having 6 days off and then almost a new team, as Cozzy said. It's a good point to make that they haven't played together as a starting 11 in probably ever since last season.
It's the first time that back five started together in 2.5 years.
Yeah, in 2.5 years. Yeah. So there's that, but also that maybe they were a little bit taken back by how good Girona were, because just go by, and we'll talk about that particular team later, but looking at the Spurs Rangers game today, and if Girona had played Spurs instead of us this week, I think Girona would have come away from that game handy winners.
Yeah. So
is it a case that, Brian, we didn't expect them to be as good as they were?
I mean, I think that you always prepare for look at film throughout the season. I mean, Girona's right now sitting about mid-table, I think, in Spain at the moment right now. They dropped off. I think they had a couple players that they had that they saw the amount to profit off when they sold. So I mean, anything happens with it. I mean, they hit above their belt last season. So I mean, and then it was also a pretty big off year for Atletico that last year, and some of the other sides that normally flirt around with that top of the Spanish league. But I mean, I think we respect every opponent. I mean, it was kind of like what Kazi said. You kind of had to rotate. It was the best side you kind of had to put out and to get a result out of it. I mean, but I did really, like I said before, I did think that we would probably rotate a little bit more than what we did. I mean, I expected to see Endo out there and a couple other things in that essence. But I really didn't expect Alisson out there. I'm kind of glad he was out there, because I mean, he played an amazing match. I mean, with some of the saves that he made were top class. So I mean, in the long run, I think that Girona is a decent side. I mean, they're just last season was one of those years. It was like a Leicester City to almost type situation with them, where they were up there toward the top. I mean, they didn't win the league, but I mean, they basically stayed in that top four throughout like 3/4 of last season. So I mean, that's a pretty good result. But I mean, sides like that who are small sides, they have to have to sell off of players right there to make profit, and then and they did, and so they're kind of suffering that a little bit right there. But I think they're a good side, and I think they played us well, and that's
part. Sorry, right. There's a part here where City own them, don't they? City own them. There's the City group who own Girona, and Savinho was their best player last year.
Mm-hmm.
So City just take him. So you know what I mean? But there is a part of me where you look again. I just think I just don't like sometimes the things that get blown out of proportion in terms of football matches. I really don't. Liverpool win the game, get a clean sheet, first things first. And I just think people overreact sometimes. That is their biggest game they've ever played, Apart from Madrid and Barca, in Europe especially, it's their biggest ever game. They're playing Liverpool, It's a fucking cup final. Do you think they're going to just come out and let us roll all over them and beat them 4-0? Do you know what I mean? They're going to come out and have a fight and have some gusto kind of thing and have a little bit about them. So I'm super proud of Liverpool, mate. I really did. I feel like the goal was coming, by the way. I thought for 15 we were all right on top. The start of the second half, the 20 after the second half, the first 20 minutes we were right on top. We pushed them up. Van Dijk was basically playing in their half, so comfortable. And I was like, we're going to score here anyway. And of course we get the pen, which I still don't think is a pen, by the way. That's my. I think it's harsh. I think if it's against Liverpool, you'd be fuming. So, and I think they've got every right to be. But it is Donny van der Beek who played for United and Everton. So I'm completely fine with him giving a penalty away. But in terms of the rotation, Brian, I think it is a good point. I just think if you're the manager, do you really want to live 10 days off with no? And I think if the Everton game happened, I agree. I think you see 7 changes. But of course, when the Everton game doesn't happen, you have 10 days off. You actually think about this now with McAllister, for example. He's not going to kick a ball until Southampton away, and he's probably going to play Southampton away. Because that's going to be 2 weeks off. Like that's what he's up to 2 weeks off. That's what you're getting to. You know what I mean? And that's like McAllister doesn't have 2 weeks off in a season for fucking years. So, he probably is going to play Southampton away just to get the rhythm. At least 20 away at Southampton, at least just to get some rhythm back in his legs. So I think that's changed the manager's mind a little bit, but I do agree, mate. I think, that Southampton game leading to Spurs away, I think that's when you see the wholesale changes.
In terms of speaking about overreacting, and we get accused on Thursday night of overreacting a lot about a certain forward with a ponytail, but I could not believe my eyes when I saw that attempt at a header. And I've seen 8-year-olds and 12-year-olds who could head a ball way better than that, and this is a professional senior football player. I read some things that I don't know whether they were up to date or not, but about Liverpool players for a start, giving their support to El Darwin, and fans giving their support. Brian, we're on this all the time, but he does work hard. There's no question about that. But so did Stig Inge Bjarnaby, and I'd still pick Costas over Stig Inge Bjarnaby at left back. Hard work is a good virtue.
Yeah, he was really good Stig, but I know what you mean.
There's better quality out there, and he is our most expensive player. Should we not expect a senior forward in the number 9 position, 5 yards out from goal, to be able to connect with a header? When I don't think he was under a huge amount of pressure from any players either. It wasn't like he was in a boat or anything. I mean, that embarrassed me a little bit, because that's a Liverpool player. We can admire his positivity and we can admire his work rate, but at the end of the day, if that's the Champions League final and that's what we're going to get, we're going to lose that final, aren't we?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a 3rd season. We're in the 3rd season of this experiment right now, and if you go back and look through here, has there been any drastic changes in this time? No. I mean, we're still seeing the same exact results. I mean, right there. I mean, yeah, you see the guy can do these worldies that you see every once in a while, but that's not what we need. I need you. If the ball's 2 yards outside, you should be tapping it in. We saw that against Newcastle. I mean, we've seen these things right there consistently happen. Where the easy shot we talked about it all last season right there. The easy chances right there are the things that he should be putting away. I mean, I don't care if you can go do a bicycle kicks or do worldies and whatever you fucking feel like doing on that stuff like that, but put away simple shots. His work rate, fantastic. I mean, he's and it's like I can't knock on that right there. But it's like, but Bobby had that same work rate, but Bobby also scored. I mean, so it goes back to that whole thing. With it. I don't know what to do with Nunez anymore. I mean, it's like I don't know if he's our best option as a number 9 right at the moment, right there. I mean, to me, we put it. I mean, I can't depend on Jota either because Jota can't go there and can't stay fit. So we have a serious situation in that spot. I mean, I thought that Diaz looked pretty good in that role right there with putting Nunez out on the left or putting Gapco out on the left right there. Those things right there kind of work. But at the moment right there, I can't justify having Nunez being our starting forward at the moment. I can see him coming on the bench toward the end after maybe this caused chaos, things like that. Stretching out their defense right there to open up Mo. But the thing is, he doesn't justify being a starter for our club at the moment. He just doesn't. I mean, the point right there is I don't know what to do with him, and I don't know if this is the right role for him, the right lineup for him, the right tactics for him. But right now, it's not working in the way a number 9 should be working for our club.
I agree with everything I just said about Darwin, and I get it. The argument is here, though, and we know he's not good enough for Liverpool. I think the jury's out. It's returned his verdict. We found out he ain't good enough for Liverpool. Okay, so what do we do here? Because you can't go out to sign a striker like that. What can you do? So the Diaz down the middle is an option. It's worked. He scores a hat-trick against Bayer Leverkusen down the middle. But it takes your sub away. It takes your left wing sub. That's what that does. So that limits your option. The other option is you play through it and you go, I'll get enough on the other 2. You'll win me games until Jota gets back. But then Jota might turn into a 10. And then he's out. So you're stuck in this vile circle that we're going to have to deal with all season. You know what I mean? I think the manager wants to hang the fella. I really do. I think you'd kill him if you love to. Do you know what I mean? But I think you're getting to the part. I just think we need to listen, mate. Everyone knows my thoughts on Nunez. I've said this since day one. He isn't right and he isn't good enough. Do I think Liverpool will sign a striker in the summer? Yes, I do. Yeah, I think there's enough out there for Liverpool. I also think there's definitely part of the contract talks where the players are asking what's the plans in the summer, and I definitely especially Salah and Van Dijk, I've got every single right to ask that at the age that they are to go. Are you going to do 4 in the summer? Do you know what I mean? And really establish us as a powerhouse. And they're getting to, and I think that is a part of the conversation as well. Now, with Darwin, mate, right, at this stage, I just think you have to play through it. I don't mind strikers playing poorly because it happens, but you've got to contribute in other ways. That's the difference. If you're not scoring, for example, his one-on-one is appalling. He doesn't even look up. Just hits the ball. And that's what frustrates me. Because you mentioned the Newcastle game, right, from last year. That's the one-off. That's a one-off. When he looks up, picks his corner, and just puts the ball there. That's a one-off. Everyone goes, well, we've seen him do it. No. That's the anomaly. That's now you know what I mean? That's not like the norm. That's the anomaly. That's the one-off. When he looks up, picks his spot, and goes, right, bang, and put the ball there. Do you know what I mean?
So the exception that proves the rule.
Of course.
Yeah.
But again, all these players play for Liverpool, and every single player in the Premier League is a world class, and they can all do something like that because they're fucking Premier League football players. So they've all got that ability in them. The difference is between a class and world class and at elite level is the consistency. It always is. Do you know what I mean? Like that, and that's what sets a player like Salah apart. It's the consistency to continuously do it. That's what makes you world class. But in terms of Liverpool in the short term, because of course the Jota and Chiesa who are training today, away from the squad, but they were training together, Chiesa and Jota. So clearly they're getting minutes on the, probably against Southampton, they're getting minutes. I just feel like you're at the stage with Darwin where he is your best sub in a weird way. He's your best attacking sub because he's been brilliant off the bench for Liverpool this year. For 20 minutes against Chelsea, I think, or City at home, he was unbelievable. He came on for 20 minutes and he ran like 90 minutes in 20, the old famous saying. So, is he good enough for Liverpool? Absolutely not. No. Jordy's returned its verdict, it's fine. Do I think it could cost Liverpool the season? No, not if Jota stays fit. And not if Chiesa can get a better time on the pitch, then I don't think it can. I just think we need to all put it all in perspective that this is what you're getting out of him now. And it's frustrating, it's annoying, because we fully believe in him, by the way. And I fully believed him. Listen, my boat sailed a long time ago, but when I see a lad who's 6'4", who can run like that with pace and strong, there's no excuses, Mac. There's no excuses when you've got all those physical attributes. Then I watch a player like Alexis McAllister, who should even be a football player because the size of him. And he's the cleverest fucking football player in the world. Do you know what I mean? That's what frustrates you. You've got God-given fucking physical attributes, and that's how you perform. Are you serious? If you ask McAllister, what would you like in the world? I want his pace. Do you know what I mean? But he can't, like Thiago. I want his pace. Do you know what I mean? And that's what's the frustrating part, lad. I just think we need to put it into context. We've got a couple of games coming up, mate. Fulham, Southampton away, and let's get Jota back starting for Spurs away.
You know, it's a lot like a comparison right there with a bigger version of Milan Barros right there, where he just runs and runs with his head down, and just no product, the end product out there. And that's what my biggest frustration when Barros was with the club was that same thing. And I think that you're seeing just a reincarnate. I don't think that the Andy Carroll comparison, I mean, it isn't there for me. A totally different player, totally different way they moved. But Barros is very much like how Barros ran for us right there with a 4-4-2. I mean, where he just ran and head down, ran, and this no end product. And I think that's what you see out of Nunez.
Just let's point out that Alexis McAllister is the Argentinian Joe Allen. That's why he's so good.
I've never thought of the Joe Allen 20 minutes into the podcast. But here we are.
If Joe Allen is the Welsh Xavi, then McAllister is the Argentinian Joe Allen.
I like it. Yeah. You know what I mean, no, mate, when you see those type of players who clearly haven't got the ability, like the physical attributes, but have got the brain and can use their body well and stuff like that. And that's what the frustrating part is, because we all believe in his size and his ability. You should be a world-class fucking striker. Look at the size of you. Yeah. Look how quick you are. Do you know what I mean? We're not asking for a lot, fella. This is what I'm saying. We're not asking for you to go out and get 40 every year. We're just asking you not to cost big chances consistently and pass the ball to your teammates. Is that too much to ask? I've never seen him win a battle. Genuinely, and I don't mean that in a bad way. We've never seen him win a battle. So when watch on the weekend, right? Or our next game, the weekend, the ball will go up in the air, long one. He won't even jump for the header with a fucking centre half. He won't even challenge one. He doesn't want to get up there. It's like he wants to play for the seconds. You're 6'4". Win a header. You tell Diaz to run behind you. Like, I'm going to win this header for you. Like, it's just the basics, man. I don't know. He's frustrating. He really is, and he always has been. I think massive changes are coming in the summer, a bit bigger than we think.
Now, here's one player who isn't frustrating, and while we may have had a disagreement, and by that I mean you were all wrong about Caoimhín Kelleher, there's one player we cannot be in disagreement about, and that is Alisson Becker is the world's best goalkeeper, isn't he? He's just a Rolls Royce of a goalkeeper. It was so good to see him back, wasn't it?
Even saying his name just like puts a little smile on his face. He's just brilliant, isn't he? How good is he? I mean, I love Caoimh. I really do. I think he's a top keeper. I think he's one of the best 6 or 7 in the league. And I genuinely should be Ireland's captain for the next 10 years. We're at the stage, though, there is a level to this. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but there's levels to this game. But when you see that lad who can literally just take goalkeeping to a level I've never seen it before, he tries to, the one that he makes a really good save, he tries to catch it. Like, I genuinely think if he's fit, he catches it and just rolls it out and everyone goes, that was okay by Alisson. No, it was unbelievable. Because you don't see keepers catching the ball anymore. It just doesn't happen. And then you just see this big, wonderful Brazilian warrior just come out. What a fucking football player.
I mean,
You know, I think
Brian, he is 75% goalkeeper and 25% gorgeousness, isn't he?
I think to echo kind of like what Gally was kind of talking about a little bit on Monday night right there. I think the biggest concern right there is can he get a consistent run of matches right there without getting injured? And you know, we've seen this the past couple of seasons where, you know, that we've had this niggling muscle injuries that are coming with a 31-year-old keeper. I mean, do I think that Allison's the best keeper in the world? Absolutely. Do I think that he can stay consistently at this level right there for more than 1-2 more seasons? Probably not. I mean, so I do think that there has to be some kind of work in the background right there to figure out what we're going to do past that. Because I'm not sold on this Georgian kid right there yet. I mean, I think the level of his level of play and what slot plays isn't the same thing right there. I mean, he doesn't play with his feet. He doesn't, so he's not very good at coming there playing from the back. He's your standard old school type of shot stopper type of keeper right there. And I think I don't know where we're going to go with that with him. Well, we can't keep Kelleher because I think that Kelleher is not going to sit there and stay for much longer. Especially at his age now, he should be a starting keeper somewhere. And I think that we really deserve to go there to give him that opportunity. I mean, if he wants to do that for us, would I love to keep Kelleher? I'd love to, but I just don't think that it's fair to him as a footballer to keep him being sitting on the sidelines and waiting out right there from their 2 more seasons, which would bring him at 28 years old. And, you know, and being that position where you have Jaros right there that's coming up in the back right there, who is at the age group right there where he would be a good deputy right there behind the keeper. And really, if you want to look at our keeper depth right now, we've got to get rid of keepers anyway, because we have a ton of keepers sitting around there, lingering around between Petagula, between Jaros, between Harvey's is Davies is back there. I mean, so you still have a couple of keepers right there that are flirting around the U21. Morozic right there is still in our books. I mean, so you still got a lot that we're gonna have to figure out. I think there's like you said right there earlier, Kasi, there's some big changes going to happen. It has to happen right there with squad depth and what the academy can and can't produce at the moment.
I have a question about to Brian. I'll ask you as well, Macka, on your opinion. I actually don't think this Georgian keeper might not even play for Liverpool.
I agree.
He's already a Liverpool goalkeeper though. He's got injured.
Yeah. I just don't think he might play for Liverpool. I think it could be like I think they might have a little revamp in 12 months and have a little think about this. Jalos looks tardy as well. When he came on against Palace, he looked all right. He looked pretty good. Do you know what I mean? And I think you're getting to the stage where it could just be an investment. I'm not saying that's like I don't think that's a Liverpool sign a £20 million keeper, but I look at someone like Chelsea, for example, who just signed Courtois and then loaned him for 3 years until they were ready. That could happen. But then in 2 years, they might get a bid for 40 million and go, fuck it, then you never play a game for us and we all make profit and we all cut ties. Do you know what I mean? So I think Kelleher definitely goes. I think if you're Liverpool in the summer, you were like, listen, do us one more. Don't sign for Nottingham Forest. We'll get you the Chelsea or Spurs move. And that's another part of this conversation. Let's get this right. If you're Kelleher now, if you're Chelsea, Kelleher should be the top of your list in January. Because if you want to win this league, I would go to Liverpool right now and go, we spend money like fuck. Here's 40 million for him. He will save you 12 points in this title race alone if you want to win this league. And then if you're Spurs, I think you're better than Vicario. You can come and go, we play so expansive, fella. The keeper gets loads of touches. Kelleher's tremendous on the ball, really good passing, really calm on the ball. He'd suit that Spurs Postecoglou side. I don't know how long he's going to be in a job, by the way. But he'd fit that side like glue. And I just think he'll just stick it all together. So I think there's a part of that conversation in the summer where you go to Kelleher. If you do one more, you're not going to get the move to like a Forest or a Palace. No, you're going to get the move to one of the bigger ones, and that's what could happen in the summer.
I mean, even the point right there, I think that he would do a good job in Spain if he wanted to go there and go across there. I mean, I think he'd be a great keeper at Atletico. I think he'd be a fantastic keeper for them right there. I think the system would suit him too. But I think that, and I agree with what you said, because I said it on Monday night right there in the comments right there. I don't think that kid's ever going to kick a ball for Liverpool. I don't.
Would you ask the question in that spot, yes or no? Would you sell Kelleher to Chelsea for 40 million in January?
No. I wouldn't sell Gallagher to a rival. I'd sell him to somebody outside of England.
It would be tough. I mean, I think that, like you said right there, that's 12 points right there that you can that can save right there, and those are points right there that we could use. I mean, I do think that that within the summer we have to keep him for the rest of the season right there. I mean, and then in the summertime you go back and say, hey, we're open to negotiations right there. I think that we asked for 25 mil for him this past summer. Nobody came for it. Yeah, they will now. I mean, I think he's just from the double penalty saves that he had, things like that right there. I mean, he's easily worth 35, 40, and I think that someone's going to come after him.
The conversation is you're the actual club, and we run the club, and you go, Alisson's fit. Yes, he gets his injury once a year, but he's had his injury. If he does with 6 more months, we're getting 40 million for the second choice keeper. I think it's a big conversation that they have. I don't know if they'd go for it for Chelsea, but I think it's a massive conversation to have. I'd do it to Spurs.
Oh, yeah.
But Chelsea, I just feel like, but if you're Chelsea, and again, it should be the top of your list. And by the way, I keep saying this, he's homegrown. It helps you massively in this day and age to have a homegrown keeper for 10 years in your squad. It really, really helps. And I actually think the club would do it.
But then it goes back there. Okay, so if we go there and because we both think right there that Marchiavelli is not going to probably play for Liverpool next season because I don't see it happening. And then we sell Kelleher, which leaves Jaros as your number 2. Who do you go in for? Do you go into our veteran keeper to sit down number 3, or do you promote like one of these like a Padagula or one of these guys or Davies or something like that is sitting at number 3 slot, which is more time usually is set for like a more senior veteran to sit in, or I mean, so I guess I'm at odds right there to figure out what to do on that. But I do think that, yeah.
But I have no idea. You are right. I don't know what we do with the keepers in the summer, but I actually think, and I can see the comments, of course, about don't sell them and stuff like that. I'm just saying, if you're the club, I just think it's more of a conversation than you think it will be. Wait, look, we just went no. The club don't think like that. The club think it's 40 million.
It's profit.
Out profit on FFP, outright profit on your FFP books. I know Liverpool are fine with FFP, but if Liverpool want to go big in the summer on 2 or 3 big signings, including a new shiny striker, 40 million FFP clean cut for a second choice keeper is a conversation to have. And I see another comment here, he would be second to Vicario. He absolutely wouldn't be. He's better than Vicario, and also Vicario's injured. So,
before we move on to the next topic, Cozy, let me just ask you this though, from that point of view. Let's say you're Andy Slot, we sell Kelleher to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Then Alisson gets injured very early on in the season, and now we don't have Alisson, and now what I consider to be one of the second best keepers in that tier is now at a title rival, and now we don't have anybody except Jaros, and Jaros he had a nice game, and that was it. Yep. You're going to look pretty stupid, aren't you, letting the keeper go who's a title chasing keeper? That's what my fear is not so much that I want Creevy and Kelleher for Ireland to be playing consistently at the top level as a starting keeper, but I just have that fear that we let him go, we're going to regret it, because I don't see where the plan is if it's Mamardashvili, because that's a terrible plan.
I mean, listen, if that's the case in the summer, and that's the case in terms of January, may sell him to a title rival. Yes, of course, it sounds silly, but that's what ifs and buts are for, aren't they? And if Alisson doesn't get injured and Liverpool win the league, we look like geniuses. So that's what you know what I mean? I just think these are businessmen.
Yeah.
Whether we like the businessmen, and we've read about Michael Edwards and his little fucking cronies for ages. So I just think it'd be more of a conversation that Liverpool fans would like to admit that club would have if Chelsea do come in with the 40 million. By the way, it would make it a lot easier if Chelsea want to lose the next 3 league games. That would make it a lot easier.
Yeah, that would make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Sanchez just drops 3 in, and every game just keeps dropping the ball for us. You know what I mean? And the price goes up. There we are.
So before we move on to the next thing, just a big up to Spencer Stewart. Every single week he's with us, liking us on Facebook and spreading the word. And then we have Suzy, obviously, in Rabona Red, and Boaz. And Anne has made an appearance. Oh, man. And that was the next topic we're going to talk about. And then Fozzie's word as well. It's nice to see everybody, as always. But But let's look at what we want to talk about. I just use these four geniuses as an example, and they all have their merits and they all have their downfalls, but they all have one thing in common: a slavish obsession with a certain way of playing, regardless of what's going on in the game or in their particular moment of form. Eric Wijnaldum on his WTF podcast thing, I think that he has on Sirius XFM, whatever it's called, made a good point that you can have your ideology as a manager, but at the top level, you're paid to win games. And there has to be a point where the thing you're doing isn't working and your team is suffering for it. And you can't really complain if you get fired later on because you refuse to compromise your principles. Brian, what do you think on that? And I'm speaking specifically about Ange Postecoglou because I like Big Ange as a character. I think he's a fantastic character, mate. You know, it is what it is. He is a great guy to have on the media side of things. And his vision of football is a good, positive vision. But Spurs look like muck right now, and they look like muck against Rangers today in the Europa League or Conference, whatever one it was. And that's because, according to Wijnaldum, he just consistently wants to play out with the back, and regardless of how it's working or what quality of players he has. Russell Martin is the same thing. Gary O'Neill has the same thing. And Brendan Rodgers, he's a little bit cuter now that he's had more experience as a top-level manager. But when he was with us, certainly, there were times when you were just looking at him going, just put two banks of four behind the ball. We'll be fine if you do that. But no, we just conceded 3 goals in the last 10 minutes because he wanted to play out of the back. So my question is, Brian, is there a certain stupidity to having that kind of professional pride?
Absolutely. I mean, it has to be right there. I mean, even though Klopp came there and won all this stuff right there, we say consistently right there, we're criticizing his lack of changing game plan sometimes. So, I mean, that's on a winning aspect there. But with Ange, I mean, with him with Spurs right there, that Chelsea match was the biggest dump I think I've seen in a long time. I mean, it just seems like that the lack of discipline with that Spurs side right there was probably enough right there where I could say that he's lost the plot. I mean, with it, Southampton. I mean, I give you Southampton right there with the way they play right there. They consistently play. They're a championship side playing in the Premier League. I mean, they're clearly staying with the same what he saw won him in the championship. Continuing to play that with a squad that can't handle to play that system against top tier sides. I mean, with the Gary O'Neill, I agree with Sir Z said right there. Out of the 4 managers, I think Gary O'Neill's probably the better manager out of all 4 of them. I think that Ange came there got the good thing out of that right there by coming there, going from Celtic over to Spurs. I mean.
Better than Brendan Rodgers.
Well, I mean, Brendan Rodgers to me right there. Okay, so my problems with Brendan Rodgers right there were what you just said right there was it was a lack of, it was just all speed, no back, no basics, no defending. I mean, we saw that with Lovren. We saw that with his handling of players. I mean, I'd go right there. His man management skills right there were terrible.
They were worse than Rodgers, which is saying something.
Yeah, I mean, but with him right there, I mean, that whole I can't get that stupid envelope thing out of my head still with Brendan Rodgers right there, and that's still that was almost like a breaking point right there to me. And also when we talked, and we really talked about this last week right there. That after what happened against Stoke right there, he should have been gone. He should have been done. He shouldn't even manage right there through the rest of that point. But I mean, I think that Gary O'Neill right there is he's almost like a Graham Potter right there. He's a victim to whatever club that to the level of clubs that signed him. I think that Graham Potter is a pretty decent manager. I think that again the same thing right there. He's a victim to where he goes. That Wolves side, it's pretty terrible.
I just want to point this thing out here. Rodgers just on the Premier League is terrible from City, who I love, great bloke. But he took Leicester to 2 fifth-place places and an FA Cup win. Leicester, he's not that bad.
Exactly. I think there's context behind all the 4 pitches that you've kind of shown, really. I think Gary O'Neill has conceded 50 goals in about 25 games. So now, Gary O'Neill is averaging 3 goals conceded a game. That ain't good enough. What I will say but I think it's all cases by cases here, gents. And we'll get to Ange in a second. Gary O'Neill also, the team sold Max Kilman and Pedro Neto and signed no one. That you're going to see a fall off. Do you know what I mean? And so that's Gary O'Neill away. He has to get a bit better defensively. We kind of know that. But Strand, Larson and Kuna might just keep them up by default because it looks like they might have 12 goals each in them. And that could be enough. Russell Martin's an idiot. An absolute moron.
He does have nice hair, though.
Oh, he's a beautiful man. But he's an absolute moron. Brendan Rodgers, I agree. I actually think Brendan Rodgers gets an extremely bad rap from Liverpool and Liverpool fans a little bit. At least he was someone, I know what you're saying about putting the two banks of four in. He came into Liverpool and went, I'm playing 3-5-2 because I've got two boss strikers, and built a formation around that, which worked. I've got Steven Gerrard on his last legs. He needs to get energy around him, so I'm going to just play Jordan Henderson. He's just going to do all his running for him. And it helped. So there's a part of the Ange conversation here, though, and this has to be put into context. He's playing today. They played their fourth choice centre half and a right back at centre back. That is a problem, you know, gents, and it's not getting spoken about enough because he's so expensive and he's so, you know, out there. No, that's a very serious issue for any football team, and we've seen what it's like when you have injuries in the same position. It can kill you, and it is killing him. But going back to your point, should he change that then because he's having these issues? Maybe. It also doesn't help that his centre midfielder wants to start being racist and get suspended for 6 games by saying something about his teammate. It doesn't help your case. Now, there is a part, though, where you signed Solanke, but don't play him today in the Europa League. Okay, fair enough, because you've got other games coming up and he started something a bit different. What he has to do, I think, and Ange's way home, is to get James Maddison on his pitch as much as possible. He has to get Maddison on the pitch. He's the only one who can kind of find a pass. I love Son. We all love Son. Son's been brilliant for 10 years. But he's the only one who looks like he can attack for them, Mac, and that's an issue. You have to just back his £60 million striker. By the way, Solanke's been relatively successful for them. And, you know, I hope he gets 20-odd goals. I'm a big Solanke fan. I think we all are at Liverpool. He was, you know, how we felt about him. But I do think there's a case in point here where you go, hey, I'm trying to play this way with these new players who are coming into my team, but I haven't got no centre half to do it. And it's very difficult. By the way, I've got no goalkeeper. Fraser Forster's in goal, who can't pass a ball. So you're also at that point as well. And I just think sometimes we need to kind of put things into context a little bit. They're a bit of a laughing stock right now, Spurs. And I understand why they're a bit of a laughing stock. The manager doesn't help himself. They're kind of making themselves a bit of a laughing stock because he's very, can't think of the right word, not depressed, but he looks like he's just very not arsed about it. Very Australian. He's just not arsed, laid back, just kind of chill. And boy, your team's getting whacked. It doesn't help. You know what I mean? It doesn't help that case. You need to see some fire and then he does come out today and call Werner else and say his performance is unacceptable, so I hooked him at half time. That's not good enough and stuff like that. If he didn't, and he said, oh no, I thought he played well, then you call him a liar. So you can't win for losing sometimes if you're a manager. Do you know what I mean? You can't win. I just think for Spurs, would I get rid of Ange? Probably. Only because there's other man. Potter screams at me. Potter really screams at me. It's like if he wasn't available, I'd be kind of like, well, show me someone who I can actually, you know, who's going to come in and work. But I tell you right now, fellas, the fucking front six are unbelievable, you know. At Spurs, if you're a coach in the world, you'd look and go, fuck me, I can work with them 6. It's not difficult to go to Maddison. I'm going to go with the number 10. Brennan Johnson, Son, Solanke, fucking Basuma behind you. Fucking hell, it's a good, you know what I mean? You kind of look and go, that's a good fucking team. So, managers changing their ways, mate. Yes, I think the bigger conversation to have over that is Pep. I think Pep started to click in the last 2 games. And it's still not working. But he started to change things. He put Grealish in centre mid, didn't he? And he's starting to change things. Thomas Frank, I've said for ages, is the best thing since sliced bread. And I think if he went to Spurs, he'd really, really elevate Spurs. And you forget how he played with Tony, you know, like that big, tall striker who's good with this, like the Solanke. Do you know what I mean? And like how we got Tony at 2 out of Tony. Got Tony in England cap. You know what I mean? Tony 5 years ago couldn't get in the Newcastle squad in the Championship. So here's the thing about that. But I just think sometimes, lads, we need to put into context that what they're playing with centre half and in goal is a big, big issue for them.
Yourself, is there something he said though, Brian, that he can, like, as Cosy says, for the Spurs example, he does have that great front 6. You don't have to play out from the back to get the ball to that front 6, so you can make a small compromise to your system without losing all of your principles. But these managers don't change the principles at all, and it just seems like cutting your nose off to spite your face sometimes.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, the defenders lost discipline in that match. I mean, you had 2 penalties against Chelsea. I mean, that were just complete ignorant challenges right there. I mean, right there that basically cost you that match. I mean, because really, if they would have came there, those 2 penalties weren't taken on there. I mean, that would have been, Spurs would have won that match with that. That would have been a 3-2. I mean, so it'd been done with it. So again, you can. I think sometimes managers do get. I know that ultimately it goes back to what I said about last week about them being the captain of the ship. They're ultimately responsible, but but also you have to you can teach players to do certain things and certain to certain plans, but it also goes back to having the right smarts in your head right there that you don't go in for a challenge right there in the box right there. So I mean those are things right there that you learn as a kid. Hey, guess what? I'm inside the box. I'm not going to go tackle and take a guy's legs out. I mean those are simple processes right there. But ultimately right there, yes, it's going to go because it's a result driven. Everything's driven by results. So yes, should Ange probably be gone? Sure. I mean, with the way things are going, I think Potter would be great. I think Frank would be great. I think that either one of those right there would probably be a good pick with that squad. But yeah, like you said right there, that front attacking squad is brilliant. I mean, I take Johnson a heartbeat. I mean, I think that he would be.
He could have said all day. What a player.
Yeah. I mean, these are players right there. I mean, again, what's failing you is simple processes. I mean, when that Spurs team right there clicks right there, you saw what happened against City. I mean, they clicked, and you saw results right there with that. They gave up, and they after that. I think really honestly after that first penalty, it looked like that Spurs. They put their heads down and they gave up. I think
there's a balance though. I think that's what you're getting at here, but I is correct. I think that's what you're getting at. There's a balance. You're 2-0 up in a game. The game state says just don't do anything fucking stupid. Just keep the ball long and play on the counter with this unbelievable front six that we just spoke about. Just play on the counter for a bit. Do you know what I mean? You're 2-0 up. You didn't play well. You've been gifted 2 goals. Don't do anything stupid. And then Malang Sarr decides to slide from fucking the Emirates all the way, just slide across London in the box all the way. It's just like, do you think he's teaching them to do that on the fucking training pitch? Absolutely not. So sometimes players have to take responsibility as well. And I think sometimes we always look to the manager, and the manager did this today, and the fucking players did it as well. So you know what I mean? Like, when you're in a game, everyone goes, Liverpool fans are Slot did great today. Was he playing centre half? Oh no, Virgil van Dijk did. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think he's telling them to make those kind of slide tackles in the middle of the box in a derby. Do you know what I mean? It just seems mad to me. So Brian's right as well. But I do think the players have to take some kind of responsibility. I think the players kind of all like, woe is me, and feel sorry for myself. And because it's Spurs and we're not meant to win and we're Spursy, fuck off. Be a fucking man and step up.
It's the same thing we saw. It's the same thing we said about United with Ten Hag. I mean, you came there and saw they made simple mistakes. I mean, he's the same manager came there that did the same as that, but they made simple, dumb mistakes. They had opportunities that they never took. I mean, and you can see. I mean, and so you see the same consistently right there. I mean, I know that we always harp about managers, like you said, like that Slot won the match. It was the plaudit goes to him, but the players right there actually they should go to them also. And then when they fail in the pitch, it should also go back over to the players right there about the simple mistakes they're making, and that goes back right there to those challenges right there for those 2 penalties. I mean that was enough right there just to say, what are you thinking, guy? What are you thinking?
Cool.
Let me ask you this: the idea of something that Klopp was accused of, not in terms of accusation, but we've all been frustrated under Klopp going, change something here, boss. But in contrast, how refreshing is it that Arne Slot will change things and he will play to control a game and not make a hell for leather for 90 minutes? Because I think some of us are still used to that we're still used to 150 mile an hour from start to finish. And then when it doesn't happen, we don't know how to adjust to it. But if we get our heads around it, we actually have a very, very clever manager, don't we?
Yes, of course. And the manager, he's very good in game. Slot, he's very good in game at changing it. So, for example, against City, he realised that, okay, we're 1-0 up, it's half time, we can play on the back foot and counter for a bit, and then we'll warm ourselves back into the game, and it works. So he's very good in game. What I would argue, don't we, with Jurgen, which, again, I think we're very forgetful because it's the past and stuff like that, we win the Premier League by just being hard to beat and score a couple of goals and win a game. So we did adapt. Jurgen didn't... People, I think, it's... Jurgen's kind of suffering right now with the Xabi Alonso effect, where he plays well his first season, plays well his last season, we go, he's unbelievable. For 4 years, he weren't. He was very good for the others, but he was just unbelievable for his last and his first. Jurgen's suffering from the heavy metal football from his first year and his last year, but he had to go back to heavy metal football in his last year because of the injuries he had. And he said, I've just got to turn this into a fucking basketball match and hope we win. Jurgen didn't, I don't think if you were the last year, we would never have played like we did in that last season, where he was just rolling with the punches. It would never have been like that. He would have shut games down. He would have cut people out. But with the injuries we had, Joe Mata doing his ACL and Kanate woefully out of form. We had the Kwanzaa. You can't really expect him to tactically really play in a game when he's only played about 10 games for Liverpool, to really play within himself and know when to press and know when to go. You know what I mean? I just think we're forgetting about that. So I think Jurgen did change of principles, but going back to the slot part, he's very good in game. That's his biggest strength. And by the way, opposition managers will work that out as well. They will eventually catch him. Do you know what I mean? You'll find a bit of a play for him. And that's what's happening with Newcastle, for example. And we'll just swarm that midfield and get around that Gravenberch, because we've seen him stroll down the pitch for 13 games and no one's got near him. So what we're going to do is get near him and see what he can do in tight spaces. And he was shit. So the data's going to start getting built up on an all-slot Liverpool. It will eventually. And that's why, in the bigger picture, going back to this season, guys, is so important, because you never might be in this position again. That's where, like I keep saying it on podcasts, Liverpool, this team is not ready to win the league. I don't think it is. But the opportunity's there, so you take it. Like, you know what I mean? If you have an opportunity in life, you take it. You have an opportunity to win the Premier League, because eventually you might get found out, and your tactics in 18 months, 2 years down the line might go, fucking hell, that's a lot shit, isn't he? Fucking hell, he got found out quick, yeah, but he delivered the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? So, because he caught everyone sleeping a little bit. And that might happen. We don't know if it will, but it could happen. So, I just think he's very, very good in game, and that's his biggest tactic right now. And I'd love to see when he's got a fully fit squad. Do you know what I mean? I really would. And seriously, he's going to disagree with me, I don't care. Those disagree with me. But that could happen, though. It happened to Conte when he went to Chelsea and he caught everyone sleeping. He played Victor Moses right wing back and he win the league. Do you know what I mean? By the way, I just said Victor Moses right wing back. That was after his stint on loan at Liverpool, by the way. That's what he did. And he wins the league. So I just feel like we need to give credit, of course, to the managers. Of course, I get that. And Slot's doing a great job right now. And I just feel we are very forgetful of what Jurgen did at the moment. And we're 14 games into a new manager. If it comes to May and he delivers all the trophies, of course, we can have chats about it, no problem. But I just think what Jurgen left him as well was a very, very good starting place, and the manager's kept up with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I totally agree right there. I mean, I think that with Jurgen, I think Jurgen left some good pieces for him to build off of. It's like this squad right there is an evolution and process right there. I think that we haven't really fully seen Arne Slot's side yet. We've seen a makeshift Arne Slot side right there. You saw the players have folded into playing with a 4-3-2-1. I mean, with that a hybrid version of that, right, that position. I mean, you're seeing players right there who played different roles in this squad. Trent is playing different from what Trent played against Jurgen. I mean, it's like, and this goes to say right there of Slot being a head coach and teaching a player just one little minuscule one thing to change in their game plan. But I think with what Kazi is right, I think that we're just taking an opportunity. I mean, I didn't go into this season think that we were going to be in this position. I think anybody in here who thought that right there would have been mad. I mean, honestly, right there. I mean, I think that but the pieces are there to win it. I mean, there's senior players on the squad right there who are deserving of winning another league championship, and are more than capable of winning a league championship. This is us taking opportunities and moving on with it.
We've had Everton and we have Darwin. And there's no better way to evolve the conversation to the game. You see how I did that? Terry Wogan is nothing on me. That's another one for the kids. Fulham against Liverpool the weekend. We spoke to our resident Fulham panel show fan on Tuesday, Alex. He wasn't hugely confident about the game, and quite rightly. They're doing a good job, Fulham. Who would have thought that somebody who had managed Everton wasn't scarred for life mentally from it? But he wasn't. Marco Silva. It is Marco Silva. I always get him and Marco Rose confused. But they're doing good. They're doing well. They have ambitions, but they also know who they're playing against and who they're up against each week. I don't want to say this is an easy game. I don't think that this has easy game written all over it at all. But at this point, you would give anything for the 2-0 slot special, wouldn't you, Cosy?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like maybe at this stage, I think it's a tough game. I agree. You can see what they did to Arsenal. They can frustrate you. They can really frustrate you. I know Arsenal, don't really attack, but they can frustrate you. They can annoy you. They have very good players. I think the finish from Jimenez last week was world class. It was absolutely unbelievable. And they're having a good season. They are. And, Marco Silva's got them ticked over nicely. I think Smith Rowe was a great pickup as well. I think he's a good buy. And I just feel with Fulham, away from home, I think you can have them away from home. I think that's the key. I think they can make I know they got beat. Wolves beat them convincingly, which was a bit of a surprise. But now I think they're unbeaten in 3. You went to Spurs, beat Brighton at home and drew with Arsenal. They're 3 good teams that they've, took points off in the last 3 games. So they've got, you know what I mean? It's not like, Spurs away, Brighton at home, Arsenal at home, and they picked up 5 points. It's not bad. You know what I mean? It's pretty good, actually. So we're going back to Liverpool's case, mate. You've had your slip up, Liverpool. You've had your one at Anfield, which was Forest. You had your one. You can't get 2. You can't get, you know what I mean? If you draw with City or lose to City, okay, whatever. Arsenal, yeah, whatever. No. If Liverpool have aspirations to win the league, you've got to beat the bottom 12 and all. You have to. By the way, Forest might be proving case in point for that if they might finish on the top 8. Forest, the way they're playing, but that's by the by. But you've had your one. And Liverpool needs to win the Premier League. And if Liverpool are going to win the Premier League, got to be Fulham and all.
Brian, what are your thoughts on the game? Is a case that 6 days of rest and then the way the game went, it was a kind of the Girona game was kind of non-committal. We didn't play horrifically badly. We just were loosey-goosey about the whole thing. Maybe that they had their mind on this game and knowing that if they get a win in this one with a game in hand, we're going into this congested holiday period in really fine fettle, as they say, in Newcastle Lake.
I'm going to second kind of what Kazi said. If we were playing at Craven Cottage, I'd have a lot more concern about this match than I do. Is this match going to be an easy match? No, because I don't think most of these matches are really easy matches. And I think that Silva is a pretty quality manager. The thing with it is, I think that playing at Anfield is a different element for a lot of these clubs right there. And I think with coming to play us there, so I think that we definitely. I think it's definitely a slot special right there, type of match right there, because I think that they're going to give us troubles, but I don't think but it's not going to be any troubles that we can't handle with there, And I'll just say right there, I miss Harry Wilson. I liked Harry Wilson. I was one of the people right there who wanted to keep him, but I saw the reason why we sold him at the same time. And I think that he's a pretty class footballer right there, but he's not a Liverpool class footballer. But I think that I really think that we should overpower them.
Because you let me evolve. Is this a game where you should put Darwin Núñez in for the start, or do you think you would just abandon that whole track altogether?
There's one way of looking at it. I think Calvin Bassey's injured, and I think the other centre half's injured, so they're onto the 3rd and 4th choice centre half. So that's one way of looking at it, and Darwin might be the guy who's going to do it for him. I feel like he hasn't got a choice. I would do Diaz down the middle, personally. I would just take him out the spotlight and go, you're going to play 90 against Southampton. And I'd love you to get a couple of goals down at Southampton in the League Cup. Because let's get it right, I don't think Southampton are going to go full strength. I think they could really do with being out this competition. So you might be playing against the 3-4-3 centre half down at Southampton, Nunes, and go and get a couple and win the game and have a lovely time about yourself. And put something nice on Instagram again, like you've been doing all week. But yeah, so I would do Diaz down the middle, mate, personally. And it's such a tough one, it really is. Only because I like him. By the way, not because of Nunes woefully out of form, which he is. I like Nunes off the bench. I think it's a great sub for 20, and I think it really helps you. So yeah, I think I'd do Diaz down the middle, Gakpo on the left.
Brian, I think it's fair to say the back five probably picks itself. It's probably Alisson in goal, Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson, and Trent, barring any knocks that come up between now and then. But in the central midfield, is there a case for changing anything up? We know Szoboszlai he's just so important for the legs. Is he?
Suspended, yeah.
Oh, McAllister is. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Suspended for Everton winning, and it's carried over. That's what I'm saying. He has to play against Southampton because he hasn't kicked the ball in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. So then you'd be thinking Gravenberch, Jones, and Szoboszlai, or Gravenberch, Jones, and maybe Elliott in there.
Nope. I think that you're not going to see Elliott really play until against Southampton. You may see him come in as a sub maybe toward the end, but I think Harvey's going to get a 90 against Southampton because he needs it for his legs, or at least a 60 against Southampton, so he can get back, his way back to fitness. I think I can't see anything but Gravenberch, Jones, and Szoboszlai right there. That's the only thing I can see in there. Playing there. I think that little bit of break they had a weak break on Gravenberch's legs, which he probably really needed right there at that point because that kid's been run down to the ground right there over the past season. I mean, I think McAllister right there coming back, same thing right there, ran down to the ground. So McAllister's going to play 90 minutes against Southampton. There's no question about that. He has to come there, keep his rhythm. I mean, like you said, earlier, that's 2 weeks off he's basically had right there. I mean, it doesn't work out that way, but that's the only way the midfield can work right there. I don't see. Well, we don't really have any other options really at the moment right now. I mean, that goes back to one of the comments right there. So the biggest concern right there for us is a drop off from our squad depth. I mean, with coming into those positions, and we don't have another holding midfielder right there that can go and that can slot in there. I mean, because especially now that you had, that you had an injury right there to the other defensive midfielder you had in the background. So Endo's the only other option you have.
I think and I think it's interesting. He probably picks a Southampton team now before the Fulham game in a weird way in his head. I think he sees this as a 2 to get into the Spurs game, and then we'll see where Jota and Chiesa are. I think you could do that now. I think, for example, his midfield against Southampton, I think will be Endo, McAllister, and Elliott. I think that's his midfield. Do you know what I mean? And goes, that'll get me home. I think he does Gomez right back. And he'll do Quansah and Van Dijk. And he'll do Robertson left back. And he might say to Gomez, you're playing 90, but you're playing both fullbacks. Like, you're going to be playing left back for the last 20. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's how we might look at this. And he might start piecing together and going to Darwin, you're doing 90 there. Can Salah do an hour? And can I hook Salah? Or can Salah do the last 30 if it's tight because the game just goes straight to pens and there's no extra time and Salah takes a pen? Do you know what I mean? And I think that could be... I think you might piece this together as a 2 if you're the manager and go, pick me the Southampton game and then I'll pick me Fulham game on the back of that to get both out of jail. Do you know what I mean? And I think that has to be his way home.
So in light of that then, Cosy, let me ask you this then. If we assume Nunes probably starts against one of them, let's just say it's Fulham, just for argument's sake, because who do you play on the left then? How do you take that 2 for and plan between Gakpo and Diaz
against Fulham?
Yeah,
assuming Nunes is starting, I think he does Diaz. I just think he has to win the game, and I just think you have to get your best players on the pitch to win you the game sometimes. And I think this is the weekend where you just have to win this weekend to get to next weekend. City go to Villa away in the early kickoff. Arsenal go to Palace away in the late kick-off on the Saturday, and Liverpool play Sunday against Spurs. Before you know it, they could both lose those 2 games. It's very possible that Arsenal go to Palace and lose. Do you know what I mean? And City go to Villa and lose. So I think for this, you just have to win it and then worry about Spurs down the line. That's do you know what I mean? And go, we'll see where the results are at, then I can worry about Spurs, and I can see where Jota and Chiesa are at. By the sounds of it, one of them could be back for. And if you go to Chiesa, can you get me 20 against Southampton? Take a pen, be a hero. Do you know what I mean? Then that's a nice start as well. You know what I mean? So I think you can reevaluate this on Monday or Tuesday in terms of Southampton and who you can take down there. There's definitely 2 or 3 I'd leave at home. Gravenberch being one. He wouldn't play Southampton. He wouldn't even be on the coach. He wouldn't even be in the meal prep. I wouldn't even let him in the training ground. Train at home. Fuck off and leave me alone. I've had enough of senior. And I think it could be that part. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's how managers think, by the way. That's not just me thinking like this. I just think that's how managers think. I just think that's how managers have to think. Because if you don't think like that, you're an idiot. When you go, oh, we're just winning about the next game, fuck off. You've got to plan 2 or 3 ahead. You've got to know where you get minutes, especially in this dog of time in matches where matches just come and come and come. Do you know what I mean? It's a time.
Well, like I know for a fact that in terms of player fitness, they use periodization, so they are really looking at a player's next 4 or 5 games to see where their load is going to be, and especially in terms of where the training days are going to be. So you're probably not far from it there. But before we wrap up, because there's no fantasy show tonight, so we get a little bit of extra time with the Handsome Baldies. Brian, give me your game prediction, score prediction, and who you think the impact player will be.
I'm still saying going with a slot special 2-0. It's gonna be Mo. I mean, it's a who else can it be at the moment right now? I mean, we talk all the day about the midfield and stuff like that, but ultimately right now, this side's rests on Mo's shoulders at the moment.
Cozy, what do you think?
2-1 Liverpool. I think this Liverpool team needs a moment. When you look back on in May and go, that was a big game, that was a big moment. We felt like that last year with Fulham at home when we won 4-3 with Endo and Trent. It felt like a big, big moment at the time. It didn't turn out that way, but I think you look back in May at certain games. There's only 3 or 4 when you look and go, fuck me. That was a big one. Do you know what I mean? And Fulham at home, when you're in a bit of a tough one, and you know what I mean, you've really got to dig in. There's got to be a hero. And I just think that's what's going to happen, and it's going to be a really tough game for us, man. I really do. I think 2-1 Liverpool will win it late on.
I'm going to combine almost, synthesize both of your predictions. I'm going to say 3-0 Liverpool, because I don't think anybody's getting past Alisson this game. Right. But I believe Cozzy is right that we do need a big moment game, a big sort of stake in the ground kind of a thing, and this could be it. But my impact player, not for the whole game, but it just seemed like it was happening the other day. Gomez gets his goal.
Close, isn't
it? And that's going to be the one where everything I know he didn't win the league that year in 2013-14, but it was such an amazing ride that whole season. And I think the watershed threshold moment was, for all of his faults later on, and they were horrific faults, Flanagan and his goal against Spurs and his boner.
Yep.
That was the moment where you went, okay, there's something happening here. There's something happening here.
Ali Sissoko away at Stoke. There's always heroes. When he takes the lead away, so we win 5-3. There's always those games, those little unknown heroes. Endo last year against Fulham just bends one in from outside the box. And we're like, we haven't seen him take a shot. And he just bent one in top corner. So I just think there is moments in certain types of players, and Gomez is definitely that type. And I'm going to say Elliott, man. I just feel like Elliott has a big season and stuff. I think Elliott's got a lot of moments left in him. And I think in this system, when we haven't seen him in this system yet, to really express himself and see what he can do, I think it could be a moment for him just to come off the bench and win the game for us.
So I did read something real quick before we go right there, that Konate should be talk about being back before the end of the month now.
But would you rush him back though?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it would be nice to have that depth back though. Yeah. I mean that's
he's another one when you look and go, like, I don't know what you do with him. I don't know what you do with Konate. What's your Konate conundrum here? You know what I mean? Like, who does he play against? Where'd you get him back in? Like, I don't know what you do, because he's so injury fucking prone. We know what he's like. We know what we're getting. Gomez and Van Dijk, let's get this right, delivered the league title for Liverpool. They literally delivered the league title for Liverpool. He gets injured later on, Gomez, and he gets forgotten about. The Champions League final, I think Gomez plays all the games up until the quarter-final. gets injured and Macka comes in, and everyone goes, oh, that's why it's that famous stat about the 2019 game, that was the one time that team started together. It's because of Gomez. Yeah. It was Gomez who took the spot all the time. The midfield and strikers didn't change. It was Gomez. So I just feel like, what do you do with Konate? Where'd you get him in?
Newcastle. Newcastle.
Oh, fuck it. Yeah, maybe. That's February, isn't it? I'm thinking like Man United at home early doors in January. You play Accrington Stanley. Do you want him to play him away against Forest in the first game back? Because let's get this right. Arne Slot would send a team from Mars to beat that Forest team at the moment. Like, he wants nothing than Forest every day and twice on Sunday. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you guys are into boxing. It's the famous Lomachenko stat. He lost one fight out of 360 in amateurs. And the guy he lost to beat him 6 times after it. And it was just like, I'm going to punish Forest for the rest of my days. Like, Forest is on his hit list. Do you know when he gets the fixtures and we all circle United away and Everton away, he circles Forest like that? Do you know what I mean? I get all my lads fit for then. So I don't know what he does with Konate, but yes, I agree. It would be a nice bonus to have him back in. Yeah.
Hang on. Accrington Stanley? He was dead.
One for the kids again?
Yes, but the correct answer is exactly.
Exactly. Accrington Stanley, though. On the early. Fantastic. 4:15, I've got to wake up for that fucking game. For a kickoff. Accrington Stanley at home.
There you go. That's what dreams are made of. It's the land of opportunity, Cozzy.
Actually, before we go, because I think this is a good call. What's the worst game you've woke up for in America?
Oh. Do you know what?
I know mine. But
it's a weird one because I had to watch it like on a small television. It was Bolton 2010. It was that was the time of the game. The time wasn't the time of the game, but the time of the game wasn't it wasn't the time of the game. I had to get up to go and watch the Packers play the Jets for my very first NFL game, which was the worst experience in my life because I didn't realize there were huge amounts of time in American football where the players don't do anything at all because there's ads on the telly, but you don't have the ads on the telly.
Yeah.
So you just sit there like watching, what did they do? Is somebody injured? Did somebody fall? Oh, it's commercials. Oh, okay. I'm just going to go watch the game in that room in there.
I was at the Bolton game away. Maxi Rodriguez scored the last minute winner.
Yeah.
Go on, Bright. What's your worst game you ever woke up for?
I'd probably say right there would be I could name numerous matches of the Japanese. The World Cup was in Japan because in here waking it up we were playing like 2-3 o'clock in the morning when the matches were in there, and they were all terrible to watch because that was the year that I think that France just basically walked the whole fucking thing basically through that process. Yeah.
If we're talking overall, Ireland against Spain in the 2002 World Cup.
Ooh, yeah,
we were cheated out of that. It was really early for us.
Yeah,
we were cheated out of that. If we'd have won that, we'd have played South Korea in the quarterfinals.
My worst Liverpool game was Bournemouth away, Jurgen's first season. It was an 3:30 kickoff. It was 11:30 in Liverpool, in Bournemouth. I was 3:30 in the morning, and I'd only just got with my missus. So she's kind of new to Liverpool. She had no idea what was going on. I got off the game. All she knew is if Liverpool win, he's happy. That's all she knew in her life. Liverpool were 3-1 up with 15 minutes to go. My missus got up for the piss. If you remember the goal, we're in the green New Balance kit. Divock Origi basically scores from the corner flag. Right? It's unbelievable. Finisher gets forgotten about. And she gets up for the piss and goes, oh, she's in such a good mood today. Oh, thank God, like Liverpool are winning. I get back into bed. 15 minutes later, she goes, you okay? I went, don't you fucking talk to me. Like, I was going to smash the house up. It's about 5 a.m. in the morning. I can't speak to anyone to go through this grieving process of how shit Liverpool were. I've seen Karius dropped 2 in his net. I think Ake scored the winner. I think he scored 2 in the last 90, over 90. And I was just like, honestly, my head. My wife brought to the wife, like 2 years ago. And she went, those games don't happen often, don't do they? Like 4 threes. And I went, no! That's why I was so angry at the time. So that's my worst ever game of football. 3, yeah.
But you're still married. That's the important thing.
We are just, yes.
Just, yeah. I think we can all say that. So that just reminds me, said then, if you haven't already smashed or gently tapped the like and subscribe button on YouTube, then you're a big idiot, as they say back home. So do it now. And then also make sure you're following us on YouTube. on the Facebook and Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter as well, and all the other social medias, and the Discord where all the chaos starts. But us gorgeous baldies are off to bed, or as Cozzy is lunch. Probably, I don't know what time it is wherever he is. It's probably early morning yesterday. But we will probably have, I think we have the morning coffee tomorrow, but we will probably have a pre and post match for the game of the weekend. So with plenty of stuff to keep you going. But for us, handsome devils, we will see you again soon, and we will have the Thursday show next week. And then maybe for the Christmas week, we'll do something sort of Q&A or something like that, where you guys in the comments can ask us the questions, and then we can fail to answer them anyway, because that's what we do. We're just too cool for school. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one. Here's the funky music.